my whole vision of jump scares really got transformed in the process of working on Haunting in Connecticut. Just say, first off, I don't think there's ever more or less in them. It is just built in, okay? It's just built in. The Shining has jump scares, too. Sure. Everything does. It's a technique, okay? I gained a lot more respect for them via a man who I have huge respect for, Jason Constantine, over at Lionsgate, who I think is the god of jump scares and really knows and understands them. And really, even at the script levels, first time I'd met somebody at the script level who was able to have read Tim and mine's script and say, great, can you give me 3 more jump scares? I was like, what, you have an exact number? He's like, yeah, I got an exact number. And we went for it and did it. But in then taking the time to think about why was that so important, it changed my whole vision. And I can say it super simply. It's a physiological thing. I mean, obviously, if a movie was nothing but jump scares, it would be annoying. But the fact is, a jump scare is a physiological technique for altering the psychophysiology of the audience. It literally changes the hormones, the heart rate. It changes the rate of blood to your brain. You're a different person for like the 7 minutes after the jump scare. So the issue is not, are you going to have a jump scare or not jump scare? It's how do you use the jump scare? And it's a tricky one because the audience is always kind of pissed off at you at the jump scare, especially if it's a fake one. Oh, it's just a cat. And they all go, ah, and they make this sound. But at the same time, even when they're doing that, they've been changed by it, and now you've got 7 minutes to do stuff.
You're pissed off at themselves for jumping, yeah, for falling for it. You know?
It changes them, and now you can do something interesting. So what's really interesting is not the jump scare, it's what are you going to do for 7 minutes after the jump scare when you've got people in this other state. Now you can just walk them down a hallway and nothing happens, and it feels different because of the ways you've altered their physiology by the jump scare.
That's what the jump scare is. It's, you know, you're pushing the guy, but then he's off balance. The jump scare is you're throwing your audience off balance. It's a spice. You don't want to use too much or you're going to have too much garlic in your soup. But then they're off balance. That's exactly it. The problem with some of the jump scares is that they're easy as a technique. Almost anyone can do them. It's that follow-up that's really super important because the jump scare, the comedic equivalent is getting hit in the balls with a piñata from an 8-year-old. You know, see, it's funny and everyone laughs every time, but then you go, God damn it, I just laughed at somebody get hit in the balls again. You know, it's like, oh fuck, a cat jumped out at me. Oh, okay, that was scary. But then it's what you do with it next.
You can't use it as a Band-Aid. You can't put a jump scare in a shitty movie and suddenly make it a good movie.
I mean, it's a tool, and you can use it cheaply, as we all recognize, or if you figured out a way to make your story, if it's a horror movie inherently scary already, then it's a great tool. And I used to hate it or thought that I hated it until I realized that if you, like The Shining is a perfect example. Like there will be no jump scares for a significant portion of the time, but for some reason you're still really uncomfortable. And then when they finally hit it, it means something. It's not just a cheap out. It really does mean something to you, and it gets you going. So
that the whole film is sheet music to create a set of effects and experiences in the hearts and minds and bodies of that audience. They're actually performing the movie for you. That's what Hitchcock's saying. They're the orchestra. He doesn't say they're the audience. He says they're the orchestra. They're actually making it happen. And so the jump scare becomes just one of this whole wonderful range of things that you can do. And the more you can decide that that can be nailed on the page, regardless of the budget of the movie ultimately, the better off you're going to be.